Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. I am Maddie May and I'm really glad you guys are here. I'm a senior at the University of Tennessee studying narrative medicine on a pre-med track because I'm applying to medical school, and it's a crazy process, so definitely subscribe and follow me on Instagram if you want to stay in the loop on that. But I'm really glad you guys are here because this is a long-awaited video. I feel like I have not necessarily put off doing it, but kind of when I came back to YouTube was at the same time as when I actually got confirmation that I successfully defended the major. So I kind of wanted to give it some time, like a couple semesters of me actually taking the classes related to narrative medicine and doing the major before I actually made a full video. Now that it's been, I think, 3 semesters under a narrative medicine major, I feel like I have a pretty good hold on what it is, what it looks like, and how it's sort of changed my perspective on how I view medicine. So I get so many questions about my whole process of not only defending my major and like doing that, but also like what in the heck narrative medicine is and what that looks like in an actual clinical perspective. Like, okay, that's cool, you have this major, but how are you going to make money from that? Like, what can you do in a healthcare field with a narrative medicine major, etc., etc. So first I'm going to kind of tell the story about how I stumbled upon this field of work and how I felt before I was a narrative medicine major and how I defended it. I'm going to just tell my story, and then I'll answer you guys' specific questions about what the heck narrative medicine is and what I've done with the major since defending it. Grab your coffees or your tea or your dog or your blanket and cuddle up and let's tell the story. Okay, so when I was in high school, I was a part of a lot of things. I was a part of the varsity basketball team, a lot of clubs, and I also like grew up with the same people my whole life. So basically the people who I went to elementary school with, I went to middle school with, I went to high school with. So by the time I was in high school, I'd really built up some great friendships, and I know a lot of people say high school is the worst time of their life, but I think my high school experience was amazing. And so when I chose to go to Tennessee when I lived in Florida, I honestly thought that it wouldn't be that hard because I had always been like an extrovert. I kind of thought I was an extrovert at the time. Now I'm pretty sure I'm like an introvert, but anyways, I really thought I wouldn't have trouble making friends or getting involved in new stuff, but it's really hard from the perspective especially of an Enneagram 3 who loves to have many things to be inspired by. I had a ton of things to do to absolutely nothing at all to do, plus no friends in Tennessee as a freshman in college. And so I think I was pretty sad my freshman year, and so that was already kind of like a negative aspect, but then sort of catalyzing that and making it even worse was that I didn't feel very connected to my major. I was a neuroscience major, and while neuroscience is extremely interesting, I had very well balanced myself in high school. I was a part of a lot of film clubs, and then I was also a part of a lot of science stuff, and so I felt very like 50-50 in high school, and I loved it that way because I could express myself creatively but also like expand on my science love. And so when I got to college, I realized that was way harder to do because you can't take 4 film classes and 4 science classes at once because there's just not enough time in the day. There's graduation requirements. Like, I had to take random history classes just to graduate. I had to take some random online classes to graduate. There's just a lot of things that got in my way of taking all the film classes I wanted to take in college, as well as all the classes I needed to take for my neuroscience major. So I just felt really restricted to science, because when you are a neuroscience major, you take, I'm talking freshman year, so you take all of the general chemistries, the general biologies, the general psychologies. You just, your schedule builds really quickly, and then all of a sudden you have no space for any electives, which I was going to use my electives as film classes, but again, I had no space. So yeah, that just kind of like worsened my mental health, I would say. So that's kind of what got me thinking about other paths. I didn't want to entirely do film because I think I've talked about this in previous vlogs. I have a certain control I like to have over videos because I just love to have creative control. It would be really hard for me to be a film major because you really have to build your way up in that field, and you also have to just listen to the big guys from the very start. And so it's not till you're much older that you get to make those decisions yourself. And I didn't want to spend my whole 20s and 30s being told what to do in regards to the films I was making. I eventually found out that even YouTube was going to be hard to do because being a science major, you really just are constantly studying, and so that's why I uploaded literally no videos. I don't think I uploaded a single video my freshman year. I was buried in schoolwork and depression, and I just didn't find myself picking up the camera because it's hard to pick up the camera when you're sad. So yeah, so this whole year I was like trying to figure out what I wanted, but I didn't really have much of a choice. A lot more of the story is in this video that I uploaded that I'm absolutely obsessed with. It really describes my mental health my freshman year, how I built my major, more detailed description. So I will link that below. Please go watch it because I think it has a pretty inspiring aura, and I've heard a lot of people say it inspired them to go after what they want at college, so definitely watch that. But so I'm going to spare you the details for that reason since that video exists, but basically I found out narrative medicine existed from a friend, and I kind of researched it to the end of my freshman year, and I was like, that's cool, but I don't have narrative medicine at UT. It's only at Columbia, and like I think Baylor offers it, and so good thing I'm a freshman at UT and I found this major that I love, but it's not offered here. So it was really crappy, but it was at that point that I realized it existed, but just not at UT. By sophomore year I had friends and stuff, so even though I wasn't as happy in my major still, I had friends, and so it kind of made it a little bit better. But by the end of sophomore year, one of my friends got into a program at my school called the College Scholars Program. And basically what it is you build and defend a major of your choice. So you basically sift through I think there was like 1,600 classes offered at my school. So you sift through all the classes that are offered at your university, and you craft a curriculum that would represent that major. And then you propose it and you defend it, sort of like people defend like a dissertation, but I guess there's less pressure because people spend like 8 or 9 years on their PhD, and this only took me like 6 or 7 months. But you basically propose it and defend it like you would a dissertation for a PhD program. I sifted through a bunch of curriculum classes. The way I did it was I mirrored the classes that are offered at Columbia and Baylor, and I tried to find similar classes that were offered at UT. So there were like bioethical classes that I added, there were some psychology classes that I added. I was doing narrative medicine with a concentration in film, so I added film classes, but that's not standard to narrative medicine. That's just sort of my niche. So I added film classes, some counseling classes. It's really just like all over the board. It's adding the humanities back into science is what basically it is, but I'll get more in depth about that later. So I took about 6 months. There was a lot of different drafts. I had to send it to the director of the program, and he said no like 3 times to my draft. And at first I took it offensively, but I really think I grew as a writer in that process because I'm gonna toot my own horn. My whole life I'd been told I was an amazing writer, and I still think I am, but when I was applying to the program and proposing my major, I was kind of making it very dreamlike, and my writing was very metaphorical, and I don't know, like there was just like an inspiring outlook on it. I was sort of writing it like I would a monologue for a video or something. But when you write these papers, you have to be professional and write it like it's research, like it's scientific research. So I really had to take out a lot of my flowery writing and a lot of my metaphors and just tell them frankly, like, this is what narrative medicine is, this is why I need to graduate with this major behind my name, this is how I intend to do it, and this is why it's important for the school to give me this opportunity. They really just wanted me to get to the point instead of like making it inspiring, because they weren't trying to be inspired, they're trying to figure out why I want this, which I understand now, but at the time it was really disheartening to get another email be like, fix this draft again. after like 6 or 7 months, I finally got approved. I defended it and I eventually got a yes. So the very next semester, I was able to sign up for the exact classes that I formatted for myself, and it was so cool. And so that kind of leads me to where I am now. I'm graduating next semester with a bachelor's in narrative medicine with a concentration in film, and I'm very, very excited. So I feel like I probably left stuff out, but I'm gonna go ahead and answer questions related to narrative medicine now. It's honestly been my favorite part of college, is going through this journey, because there was just such a shift in the way that I honestly felt like I was in high school again, enjoying school, because freshman and sophomore year I thoroughly didn't enjoy it as much as I did in high school, just because I wasn't as inspired. But junior year and senior year, I was doing that narrative medicine major, and all of a sudden I sat up a little straighter in my science classes. I felt like I had a purpose in these classes and I knew where I was going, and it was truly the best feeling ever to just like finally feel relief and knowing that I am really passionate about what I'm studying now. Even if your school doesn't offer programs at your school like mine did, I really, really recommend not pigeonholing yourself into one degree or one area of study. You should learn anything and everything that you want, and that's like one thing I really, really recommend taking from this video and any video I watch. I want you guys to always leave feeling like you can conquer the world and you can do exactly what you want in your life, because even if these programs don't exist, you can create these programs. You can write proposals to your school. There's always stuff you can do. All right, so let's get into answering some of these questions that you guys have. I also didn't really put them in order, so I hope that the order I answer them is okay. I actually want to answer first, like, what the heck is narrative medicine, because it was only brought into light in 2014. It was created by a woman named Rita Sharon at Columbia. She just created narrative medicine as a field, and so all credits go to her. It already existed in 2014, but since it was 2014, which isn't that long ago, there's still not too much literature about it online, and so you do have to do your research and stuff. So the way I answer like what narrative medicine is, it basically just allows the humanities and the sciences to collaborate. In a standard United States pre-medical degree, it's pretty much all sciences. The least quantitatively science thing is the psychology and sociology classes that are mandatory, but you only have to take one semester of that, and so that's just not enough. That's not enough humanities for a job that involves people spending time with people every single day. There's just something really wrong with that. That's kind of the way the degree differs from a biology major or a chemistry major, is that you're incorporating more humanities, whether it be more psychology, more sociology, more counseling, more English classes, more reading and writing classes, just more classes that involve the person to get outside of the biological pathways and organic chemistry mechanisms, and more in the lines of higher level thinking that is so important. And I just can't believe it's not mandatory in these pre-medical degrees, and they really should be. I'm trying to be concise here, but there's just so much that goes into narrative medicine, and because my major is narrative medicine with a concentration in film, I was really trying to utilize film as a way to bridge the gap between a patient's story and a physician's interpretation. So I felt like film was a great forum for both the patient and the doctor to meet in the middle. But I could, because I started a club at my school, so I have like a little Google Doc that we like to read at our club meetings. So narrative medicine fortifies clinical practice with the narrative competence to recognize, absorb, metabolize, interpret, and be moved by the stories of illness. Through narrative training, the Division of Narrative Medicine helps physicians, nurses, social workers, mental health professionals, chaplains, social workers, academics, and all those interested in the intersection between narrative and medicine improve the effectiveness of care by developing these skills with patients and colleagues. Our research and outreach missions are conceptualizing, evaluating, and spearheading these ideas and practices nationally and internationally. The clinical routines and the teaching methods of narrative medicine, our experience and research show, can transform practice and training. So yeah, there's just like so much like literature that you really just have to get to the root of. Once you kind of have that light bulb moment, it becomes way simpler to understand, if that makes sense. I want to answer this question. What does narrative medicine look like when you actually begin practicing as a doctor? So narrative medicine is not a specialty of medicine. It's not a specialty like it would be dermatology or cardiology or endocrinology or obstetrics and gynecology. It's not a focus. It's more an approach to care. It's a way to interpret medicine. It's an ideology that can be applied to medicine. And so I'm not going to medical school to become a narrative medicine doctor. I'm going to be a doctor who approaches medicine with a narrative medicine lens, if that makes sense. And so I will hopefully do something in obstetrics and gynecology, endocrinology, or family medicine. Those are my top 3, but I will approach my patients with open ears. I will be an empathic listener. I will listen to their story and take into account all aspects of what is brought to the table instead of just the symptoms on the clipboard. I feel like, in short, narrative medicine just softens medicine. It teaches these physicians to be people to their patients and not just this doctor on a high horse. Honestly, like listening to your patient and just paying attention to the fact that, oh, they like this basketball team, or oh, they're going through a divorce, or oh, they are doing really well in school and they also want to be a doctor. Just like really paying attention to the details of your patient's life and factoring that into the choices you make and the way that you interpret their case. So narrative medicine is a really good degree to get if you already have a bigger picture idea of what you want to do. So I already knew I wanted to go to medical school, so I knew that as long as I took the prerequisite classes to get into medical school, it didn't really matter what my major was. But if I wasn't going to medical school, like I would say a narrative medicine major could go to med school, could go to law school, could become a professor, you could work in research. It all just depends on what your interests are and stuff. I did want to answer this question. Someone said, since it's mostly about filmmaking, is there any sort of patient interaction or lab test associated with it? So it's not affiliated with filmmaking. That's something that I did. Like, that's my little niche. Narrative medicine really, I don't think, has ever been associated with film, but because I was so interested in film when I was making this major, I wanted to incorporate some film classes, and I felt like I could really do something really cool with film in the medical field. That was all my doing. That's not to say that you guys shouldn't. If you guys are interested in film and you want to incorporate that into your medical degree, you should, because there are ways to do it, but you won't really find a lot of literature online combining film with narrative medicine. That's just something that I did. I got a lot of questions about like what was the process of creating your own major like. So I kind of answered a little bit of that in the beginning of this video, but also go watch that video that I linked below because that also will give you more details. Okay, so this question I think is a great example of how I'm using narrative medicine in the medical field. So someone said, tell us about your internship. Summer of 2019, I did an amazing full-time hospital internship. It was paid as well, which was amazing. And I basically got to go to downtown Minneapolis, which is a huge city. It's like, what? I just thought it was so cool that this internship wasn't in the middle of nowhere. It was like actually in this booming city, and I just felt like it was the beginning of a coming of age novel or something when I moved there for the summer. But it was so cool. I worked under a narrative medicine professional who actually did the Columbia narrative medicine program, so he had a degree in narrative medicine, and he was the director of narrative medicine and trauma-informed care at the hospital. I just did a lot of research on people who are currently doing narrative medicine in the United States, and he was one of the people that I found. He's gonna be my mentor for the rest of my life because he just believes in me so much, and he believes in the way that I see medicine, and he really is excited about my future. And it's just really cool to have mentors or just people in your life that are maybe even more excited about your future than you are. And so I really value him, and we went through a couple interviews, but really we were just talking about how I could actually benefit the hospital because he was already doing a lot of stuff, so it was sort of like, what can I do to help? And so I basically ended up making a bunch of documentaries solely for the patient. None of them were for marketing. None of my videos were used in like a newsletter or posted on their Instagram. Like, it was not for marketing purposes. It was solely made for the patient. And so my films ended up being used as literally part of their treatment plan. So I made a short documentary for a woman who was suffering from postpartum depression, and I got to know her over a few weeks, and I interviewed her, and it was just really cool to see after each of her sessions she just grew a little lighter. It really helped her to tell her story, and it was really just one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had creating a film like that. And so it was so cool at the end of it to put it all together and create this beautiful documentary that really shows her arc of healing throughout. And I edited it and I packed it up in this nice little bow, metaphorically, and I sent it over to her. And so now she has this film that literally shows her healing over time. And so that's kind of the way I incorporated film into medicine, is through making these documentaries. I also made one about a man who got in a car accident, and there's very specific details about the car accident, so I don't really want to go far into depth about that because I don't want anyone to find out who he is. I made a film about him healing from his car accident and his wife, and so I sent that to him whenever he left the hospital. And you just really know that you made an impact on this person's life and the trauma that they've experienced. And so it was just so cool to see my films help in that way. So yeah, that's what I did all summer. I worked on those films and I collaborated with this narrative medicine professional who was amazing, and it was just so cool. And I'm only telling the story to clarify things for you guys and also inspire you guys. Like, go do exactly what you want to do. So I feel like I've answered this question kind of throughout the video, but someone asked why this versus pre-med / any other major. I want to sort of clarify that I am still a pre-med major because I've taken all of the pre-medical requisites. Like, I've taken all the organic chemistries, all the biologies, all the chemistries. I was just able to take out random classes like public speaking and history and fill them in with my narrative medicine based courses. I did still take all of the classes that a normal pre-med major would, but I was able to incorporate some humanities classes that will, at the end of the day, make me a more well-rounded and, as I previously aforementioned, a softer doctor. And lastly, I didn't get this question, but I have gotten it a lot before, so I wanted to go ahead and answer it. A lot of people ask what we do in Narrative Medicine Club. So I read a lot of books and I do a lot of research in narrative medicine, and so does the other co-president, Maggie. And so we basically go over a lot of that stuff, whether it's poetry, whether it's books, whether it's art, TED Talks. We really just go over the literature and the art associated with medicine that is often overlooked or not cared about, and it really can help us become more well-rounded physicians. Alright, so I'm going to answer any other questions you guys have down below, but if you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know. Comments are the reason I do YouTube. I love the community. That's literally the reason I do it. Also, follow me on Instagram if you ever want to contribute questions. I've been asking for you guys' opinions a lot on things, and it's just because I love to hear what you guys think. And so definitely follow me on Instagram. When I get 10,000 followers, I can finally do swipe up links for you guys, so that's exciting. Oh, also, I am going to link my narrative medicine page that is like on my school's website, because whenever you like defend your major, you are put on the program's list. So I have like a bio and some of the classes I study under narrative medicine. I'll just link it below. You can go click if you're curious. Although I don't think I've updated my bio since I got in, so it's about 2 years old, but it's still got a lot of info on there about my journey to narrative medicine. So I hope this inspired you guys more than anything. Do exactly what you want. It's so bright. But I love you guys, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye!